The moment Amelia Wilson spotted her ex-boyfriend lurking near the reception hall entrance, her perfect bridesmaid day shattered into 1,000 panicked pieces. She'd known attending her best friend's wedding might be risky, but she never expected Daniel to actually show up after the restraining order. Amelia's hands trembled as she clutched her bouquet tighter, desperately scanning the crowd for security while trying to keep the bride from noticing her distress. "You okay, Ames? You look like you've seen a ghost," whispered Tara, another bridesmaid, adjusting Amelia's lavender sash. "He's here," Amelia whispered back, her voice barely audible over the string quartet. "Daniel's by the door." Tara's eyes widened. "That psycho, are you sure?" Amelia nodded, fighting to maintain her composure. 6 months of terrifying late-night calls, coincidental appearances outside her apartment, and disturbing gifts had finally pushed her to get legal protection. The restraining order was only 3 weeks old, and here he was, boldly violating it at her friend's wedding. "I need to find someone," Amelia murmured, backing away from the entrance. "Security, or she collided with something solid, no. Someone, and nearly lost her balance." Strong hands steadied her shoulders as she looked up into the most intense blue eyes she'd ever seen. "Excuse me, I wasn't watching where," Amelia started. "Is everything all right?" The man's deep voice matched his imposing presence. Tall with broad shoulders, he wore a perfectly tailored charcoal suit that screamed money and power. His dark hair was neatly styled, and a hint of stubble defined his strong jawline. "I'm fine," Amelia replied automatically, the practiced lie slipping out before she could stop it. The stranger raised one eyebrow skeptically, his gaze shifting momentarily to where her ex stood. Something in his expression changed, hardened, as if he'd instantly assessed the situation. "William Kingston," he introduced himself, his voice lowering. "And you're clearly not fine. Is that man bothering you?" Amelia hesitated, surprised by his directness. "How did you body language?" "Yours says terrified, his says predatory." William's hand remained reassuringly on her elbow. "I'm friends with the groom. Perhaps I can help." Amelia briefly wondered how a man she'd never met could read her so easily, but desperation outweighed suspicion. "My ex. There's a restraining order. He's not supposed to be within 500 feet of me." William nodded once, his expression unreadable as he pulled out his phone. "Give me your name and 2 minutes." "Amelia Wilson." William's fingers flew across his screen, then he spoke quietly into the phone, his voice commanding yet controlled. The wedding coordinator approached them moments later, followed by 2 security guards who had been stationed at the main entrance. "Miss Wilson," the coordinator said softly, "Mr. Kingston informed us of the situation. The security team will escort your unwanted guest out immediately." "Do you have documentation of the restraining order?" Amelia nodded, pulling up the digital copy on her phone. William stepped back slightly, giving her space while simultaneously positioning himself between her and Daniel's line of sight. "Thank you," Amelia whispered to William as the security team moved toward the entrance. "I'm surprised the event staff responded so quickly." A hint of a smile touched his lips. "The venue's security company is one of my subsidiaries. I'll make sure they keep him away for the entire event." "Your subsidiaries?" Amelia asked, confused. "Kingston Enterprises owns several businesses, including this security firm," William explained casually, as if mentioning he owned a bicycle, not multiple companies. Realization dawned on Amelia. William Kingston, CEO of Kingston Enterprises, the shipping and logistics conglomerate that had been in the news recently for acquiring a major international competitor. She'd read about him but had never seen photos. He famously avoided publicity. "You're that Kingston," she said, watching as security confronted Daniel near the entrance. Guilty. William's attention remained fixed on the developing situation by the door. Your ex doesn't appear to be leaving willingly. Daniel was indeed arguing with the security guards, his face reddening as he gestured wildly toward the reception. When he pointed in Amelia's direction, she instinctively stepped closer to William, whose presence felt inexplicably safe. "I should warn you," Amelia said quietly, "he can get aggressive when challenged." "So can my security team," William replied, his tone matter of fact. "And unlike him, they're trained professionals." As if to prove his point, 2 additional guards appeared, firmly escorting Daniel toward the exit despite his protests. Amelia watched, holding her breath until he disappeared through the doors. "They'll ensure he leaves the property entirely," William assured her. "And they'll maintain watch to prevent his return." Relief washed over Amelia so intensely her knees nearly buckled. "I don't know how to thank you." William studied her for a moment, his expression softening slightly. "No thanks necessary. No one should have to deal with that kind of intrusion, especially at a friend's wedding." He paused, then added, "Would you like security to escort you home later?" The thoughtful offer touched Amelia deeply. Most people didn't understand the constant vigilance stalking victims maintained. "That would be incredible, actually. Consider it done." William reached into his suit jacket and produced a business card. "My direct number is on the back. If you have any concerns today or any other day, call me." Amelia accepted the card, noting the simple, elegant, embossed logo. "That's very generous." "It's practical," William countered. "Your ex strikes me as persistent." "You have no idea," Amelia murmured. The wedding coordinator reappeared, looking relieved. "Miss Wilson, the situation has been handled. The ceremony will begin in 5 minutes. We should get you to your position." Amelia nodded, turning back to William. "Thank you again. I hope you enjoy the wedding." William's eyes lingered on hers for a moment. "I believe I already am." As Amelia took her place with the other bridesmaids, she found herself repeatedly glancing toward the seats where William sat during the ceremony. Something about his confidence, and the immediate way he'd stepped in to help her without questioning, without demanding explanation, left a deep impression. The bride glowed as she exchanged vows, but Amelia's thoughts kept drifting to intense blue eyes, and that moment of safety she'd felt standing beside a stranger who'd somehow become her protector. What Amelia couldn't know was that William Kingston, who had built an empire by calculating every risk and controlling every variable, had just experienced something entirely new. An inexplicable, overwhelming desire to protect someone. He just met a feeling that would upend his meticulously organized world in ways he never could have anticipated. The reception was in full swing when William spotted Amelia again. She was dancing with an elderly gentleman, presumably a relative of the bride or groom, her smile genuine, but her eyes still occasionally scanning the entrances. The lavender bridesmaid dress complemented her chestnut hair, which cascaded in loose curls past her shoulders. William hadn't planned to stay for the entire reception. He'd only attended the wedding because the groom, Michael, was the son of an important business associate. Normally, William would make an appearance at the ceremony, offer congratulations during the cocktail hour, then discreetly exit. Social events weren't his preference. They usually involved people either intimidated by him or trying to pitch business ideas. Yet here he was, nursing a whiskey and finding himself unusually interested in watching a woman he'd just met navigate the celebration, all while maintaining a subtle vigilance he recognized from his own security team. "Kingston, didn't expect to see you still here." Michael appeared beside him, face flushed with happiness and probably champagne. William offered a rare, genuine smile to the groom. "Congratulations. The ceremony was perfect. Thanks for coming. Dad mentioned you're usually impossible to pin down for these things." Michael followed William's gaze across the dance floor. "I see you've met Amelia." William took a sip of his whiskey, briefly. "She seems to be having some trouble with an unwelcome guest." Michael's expression darkened. "Her ex is that bastard here, not anymore." "Good." Michael sighed. "That guy's been terrorizing her for months. We were worried she might not even come today because of him." William's jaw tightened. "The situation appears more serious than she let on." "It is. Started when she broke up with him 6 months ago. He was controlling, jealous. After, he just snapped. Following her, sending creepy messages, showing up at her work." Michael shook his head. "Police weren't much help until recently when she finally got a restraining order." William absorbed this information silently, watching as Amelia finished her dance and headed toward the bar. "What does she do for work?" "She's a pediatric physical therapist. Works with disabled kids. Amazing at it, too. My nephew had developmental issues and Amelia practically worked miracles." William nodded, filing away this detail. It fit with the impression he'd formed: someone compassionate enough to dedicate her career to helping children, yet strong enough to maintain composure during a frightening confrontation. "Mind if I introduce myself properly?" Michael asked with a knowing smile. Before William could respond, Michael was guiding him across the room toward Amelia, who was now chatting with the bartender. "Amelia, have you officially met Will?" Michael asked, interrupting her conversation. She turned, surprise flickering across her face before she smiled. "We had a brief introduction earlier. He helped with my situation." "So I heard," Michael replied. "Will doesn't usually stick around for receptions, so consider yourself special." William shot Michael a look that would have intimidated most of his executives, but the groom merely grinned and clapped him on the shoulder. "I'll leave you two to chat. I should find my wife still weird saying that." As Michael departed, Amelia turned toward William, an amused expression playing across her features. "Will, I thought it was William." "It is," he confirmed. "Only a select few use the shorter version. And I'm not among that select group." Her tone was teasing, more relaxed than earlier. "You can call me whatever you like," William responded, surprising himself with the casual reply. "Has security been attentive?" Amelia nodded, her expression turning more serious. "Very. Thank you again for arranging that. I've spent the last 6 months looking over my shoulder constantly. It's nice to just breathe for a few hours." The vulnerability in her admission stirred something protective in William. Has he been that persistent? Increasingly so. She took a sip of her champagne. "It started with texts, then calls at all hours. Then he began showing up places: my favorite coffee shop, the gym, outside my apartment building. The messages got darker, more possessive." She shook her head. "Sorry, you don't need to hear all this at a wedding." "I asked," William said simply. A slow song began playing and couples moved onto the dance floor. "Would you like to dance?" William found himself asking, extending his hand. Amelia looked momentarily surprised before placing her glass down. "I'd like that." As they moved to the dance floor, William placed his hand respectfully at her waist, maintaining a proper distance. Her hand felt small in his as they began moving to the music. "So, William Kingston, CEO of Kingston Enterprises, what brings you to this particular wedding?" Amelia asked. "Business connection," he replied, guiding her smoothly through a turn. "Michael's father and I have worked together for years." "You, college roommate," Amelia said. "Sarah and I shared a tiny dorm room freshman year and somehow didn't kill each other. Been best friends ever since." William nodded. "And you're a physical therapist, pediatric specialist, yes?" How did you know? Michael mentioned it. Said you worked with his nephew. Ethan, Amelia confirmed, her expression warming. Sweet kid, had some motor development delays, but he's doing amazingly now. Running around like any other 5-year-old. As they continued dancing, William found himself increasingly drawn to her animated expressions when she spoke about her work. Unlike most people he encountered, who either seemed intimidated by his position or eager to impress him, Amelia was refreshingly genuine. "What about you?" she asked. "What's it like running a global shipping empire?" William raised an eyebrow. "You've researched me." A slight blush colored her cheeks. "Maybe a quick internet search after you helped me. Hope that's not weird." "It's prudent," William replied. "I'd have done the same." "And what's it like being a CEO before 40? William considered the question, unused to discussing his personal experience rather than company performance metrics. "Challenging, rewarding, sometimes isolating." "Isolating, with thousands of employees. It's different at the top," he explained. "Decisions affect many lives." "Few understand that pressure." Amelia studied him thoughtfully. "That sounds lonely." The simple observation hit closer to home than William expected. Before he could respond, the song ended and the DJ announced the cake cutting would begin soon. "I should check on Sarah," Amelia said, stepping back slightly. "Maid of honor duties." William nodded, reluctantly releasing her hand. "Of course." "Will I see you later?" The hopeful note in her voice wasn't lost on him. "Count on it," William replied, watching as she disappeared into the crowd. As promised, security escorted Amelia home after the reception ended near midnight. William had arranged for his personal driver to take her, with 2 security personnel following in a separate vehicle to ensure Daniel wasn't waiting at her apartment building. After confirming she'd arrived safely, William returned to his penthouse overlooking the city skyline. As he loosened his tie and poured himself a nightcap, his thoughts kept returning to Amelia, her resilience, her warmth, the way she'd looked at him with genuine interest rather than calculated assessment. For a man who'd built his life around strategic decisions and careful control, the evening had been unexpectedly transformative. What had begun as a simple act of intervention had somehow evolved into something William hadn't experienced in years, a genuine connection. Setting down his glass, William made a decision. His security team would continue monitoring Amelia's building tonight. Tomorrow, he would find a more permanent solution to her stalker problem. Nobody should live in fear, especially not someone with Amelia's compassionate spirit. What William didn't yet realize was that, in protecting Amelia, he was opening himself to vulnerability in ways his carefully constructed world hadn't allowed for a very long time. Amelia woke to her phone, buzzing on the nightstand. Groggily reaching for it, she expected to see yet another blocked number, Daniel's typical morning harassment. Instead, she found a text from an unknown but not blocked number. "Good morning. Security reports no incidents overnight. Driver available if needed today. WK." Sitting up in bed, Amelia reread the message. The thoughtfulness of it, checking on her welfare without being intrusive, contrasted sharply with the controlling behavior she'd become accustomed to from Daniel. She typed back, "Thank you for everything. Your security team was incredibly professional. I can't express enough gratitude." The response came almost immediately. "No gratitude necessary. How are you feeling this morning?" Amelia smiled at the simple question. How was she feeling? Safe for the first time in months. Intrigued by a man she barely knew yet, who had shown her more consideration in one evening than Daniel had in their entire 8-month relationship. "Better than I have in a long time," she replied honestly, though slightly hungover from wedding champagne. After a moment's hesitation, she added, I enjoyed our dance. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then reappeared before his response came through. As did I. Would you consider having dinner with me this evening? Amelia bit her lip, considering. William Kingston was undeniably attractive, thoughtful, and had already proven himself trustworthy in a crisis. But he was also a powerful CEO, and she was a physical therapist with a stalker problem, hardly the ideal situation for starting something new. Before she could overthink it, she replied, "I'd like that." They arranged to meet at 7 p.m. at Maribel's, an upscale restaurant downtown. William had suggested sending his driver, but Amelia politely declined, preferring to maintain some independence despite the convenience. As she prepared for her day, a Sunday typically spent catching up on household chores and preparing for the week ahead, Amelia found herself repeatedly checking her phone, a flutter of anticipation replacing her usual anxiety. She had just finished grocery shopping when her phone rang, displaying her best friend's number. "How's the honeymoon suite?" Amelia answered with a smile. "Fabulous," Sarah replied. "But that's not why I'm calling. Spill about you and William Kingston." Amelia laughed, balancing her phone while unlocking her apartment door. "There's nothing to spill. He helped with the Daniel situation, that's all." "That's all. Amelia Wilson, I saw you dancing with him. Michael says William never stays for receptions, much less dances with anyone." "We're having dinner tonight," Amelia admitted, setting her groceries on the counter. Sarah squealed so loudly Amelia had to pull the phone away from her ear. "I knew it. The man couldn't take his eyes off you all night. It's just dinner, Sarah. He's being nice." "William Kingston doesn't do nice without reason. He's ruthless in business. Michael's dad says he's brilliant but terrifying in negotiations." Sarah paused. "But he looked at you differently, like you fascinated him." Amelia began unpacking her groceries, trying to ignore the warmth spreading through her at Sarah's words. "I'm sure you're exaggerating." "I'm not. Just be careful, okay? Not because of William, he seems genuinely interested, but because of Daniel. If he saw you with someone like Kingston." The warning dampened Amelia's mood slightly. Security removed him from the wedding. He doesn't know anything about William. "Let's hope it stays that way," Sarah said soberly. "Anyway, what are you wearing tonight?" The conversation shifted to lighter topics, but Sarah's caution lingered in Amelia's mind as she prepared for her evening. Daniel's jealousy had been a major factor in their breakup. The idea of him discovering she was dating someone new, especially someone as prominent as William, was concerning. As evening approached, Amelia chose a simple but elegant navy blue dress that flattered her figure without being overly formal. She applied light makeup and let her hair fall in natural waves, aiming for an effortless look that had actually taken considerable effort. At 6:30, her buzzer rang far too early for the rideshare she'd scheduled. Cautiously, she approached the intercom. "Yes, Miss Wilson, it's Mark Thompson from Kingston Security. Mr. Kingston asked me to escort you to the restaurant." Amelia hesitated. "I didn't arrange for an escort." "Mr. Kingston was concerned about your safety, madam. I can wait in the lobby if you prefer." After a moment's consideration, Amelia agreed to meet the security officer downstairs. When she reached the lobby, she found a professional-looking man in a suit who respectfully introduced himself and led her to a waiting luxury sedan. To her surprise, William was already inside. "I hope you don't mind," he said as she slid into the back seat. "I thought it might be safer this way." Amelia settled beside him, noting he wore a tailored navy suit that coincidentally complemented her dress perfectly. "I appreciate the thought, but I don't want to disrupt your schedule." "You haven't," William assured her. "My office is on the way." As the car pulled away from her building, Amelia noticed a second vehicle following discreetly behind them. Is that additional security? William confirmed. Is it too much? Amelia considered the question. Under normal circumstances, such precautions might seem excessive for a first date. But with Daniel's unpredictability, the extra security was actually reassuring. It's thoughtful, she decided, though I hope it's not always necessary. William studied her for a moment. You're concerned this is overwhelming. His directness was refreshing. A little. I'm not used to security details and luxury cars. The security is temporary until your ex situation is resolved, William explained. As for the car, I rarely drive myself in the city. Too inefficient. Amelia smiled at his practical reasoning. Do you always think in terms of efficiency? A hint of amusement crossed his features. Usually, it served me well in business. And in personal relationships, William's expression shifted slightly. Those have been less successful. Before Amelia could respond, they arrived at Maribel's. The restaurant was even more elegant than Amelia had anticipated, with soft lighting and intimate seating arrangements that somehow managed to feel private despite the busy dinner service. The maitre d' greeted William by name, leading them to a secluded corner table with an excellent view of the city skyline. Amelia noticed several diners glancing their way with curious expressions. You're recognized here, she observed after they were seated. William nodded. I host business dinners here occasionally. The food is excellent, and they're discreet. Is discretion important to you? Amelia asked, genuinely curious about this complex man sitting across from her. William considered her question as the sommelier approached with a wine list. After briefly consulting with Amelia about her preferences, he selected a bottle of Pinot Noir. Privacy is valuable when your decisions affect thousands of people and millions in assets. William finally answered after the sommelier departed. The business press scrutinizes everything, looking for signs of weakness or distraction. And am I a distraction? Amelia asked boldly. William's eyes locked with hers, intense and unreadable. The most intriguing one I've encountered in years. The honesty of his response sent a flutter through Amelia's stomach. I find that hard to believe. You must meet fascinating people constantly. People with agendas, William clarified. Everyone wants something from a CEO: investments, jobs, connections. He paused as their wine arrived. After tasting and approving it, he continued, You're different. You needed help yesterday, but you weren't trying to impress me or gain something beyond immediate safety. Amelia sipped her wine, appreciating its complex flavor. I didn't even know who you were at first. Exactly. A rare smile softened his features. It was refreshing. As they ordered and their meal progressed, Amelia found herself increasingly drawn to William. Beneath his controlled exterior was a sharp intellect and unexpected depth. He asked thoughtful questions about her work, genuinely interested in her passion for helping children overcome physical challenges. What made you choose pediatric therapy? He asked as they shared a chocolate dessert. My brother had cerebral palsy, Amelia explained. I watched how his therapists helped him gain independence, how they celebrated every tiny victory with him. I wanted to give that same hope to other children and families. William nodded, absorbing this personal revelation. Is your brother still in therapy? A shadow crossed Amelia's face. He passed away when I was in college, pneumonia complications. She took a breath. But his life, though short, was full of joy because of the people who helped him thrive despite his limitations. William reached across the table, briefly covering her hand with his. The gesture was simple but powerfully comforting. Your patients are fortunate to have someone who understands their struggles so personally, he said quietly. The conversation flowed easily after that. shifting to lighter topics, favorite books, travel experiences, even a debate about whether automation would eventually replace human jobs entirely. William arguing for the efficiency of technology, while Amelia defended the irreplaceable human touch in service industries. By the time they finished their meal, Amelia realized 3 hours had passed in what felt like minutes. Outside, the city had fully embraced the night, buildings illuminated against the darkness. "Would you like to walk for a bit?" William suggested as they exited the restaurant. "There's a small park nearby with an excellent view of the harbor." Amelia nodded, surprised when William casually took her hand as they began walking. His security team maintained a respectful distance, alert but unobtrusive. "Is your entire life this protected?" Amelia asked, gesturing subtly toward the security personnel. "Not usually this visible," William admitted, "but certain situations warrant extra precaution." "Daniel," Amelia said, understanding immediately. William nodded. "My head of security ran a background check. Hope you don't mind." Normally, Amelia might have found such an action invasive, but given the circumstances, it was sensible. "What did you find?" Daniel Bennett, 32, sales manager at Vertex Pharmaceuticals. 2 complaints from previous girlfriends, though charges were dropped in both cases. Several traffic violations for aggressive driving. William's tone remained neutral, but his grip on her hand tightened slightly. "He has a pattern." Amelia sighed, the pleasant evening momentarily overshadowed by her ex's persistent presence in her life. "The restraining order hasn't deterred him much." They reached the small park, where decorative lights illuminated a winding path along the harbor. William guided them to a bench overlooking the water, the city lights reflecting on its dark surface. "I'd like to help," he said after they'd sat in comfortable silence for a few moments. "If you'll allow me." "You already have," Amelia pointed out, "more than most would." William turned to face her fully. "I mean more substantially. Kingston Enterprises has considerable resources and connections. We could ensure the restraining order is properly enforced, provide additional security until he gets the message." The offer was tempting more than tempting. For months, Amelia had felt helpless against Daniel's persistent harassment. Police had been sympathetic but limited in what they could do, until he actually violated the restraining order, which he'd been careful to technically avoid until the wedding. "Why would you do that for someone you just met?" Amelia asked softly. William considered the question, his expression unusually vulnerable in the soft lighting. "Because when I saw you yesterday, first afraid, then relieved, then genuinely enjoying yourself at the reception, I realized how rarely I feel that kind of immediacy, that connection. My world is calculated risks and strategic decisions. You made me want something different." The honesty of his answer touched Amelia deeply. Without overthinking, she leaned forward and kissed him gently. William responded immediately, one hand moving to cup her face with surprising tenderness. When they separated, Amelia saw something rare and precious in his eyes, a glimpse behind the controlled exterior to the man beneath. Whatever was developing between them was clearly unexpected for both, yet undeniably powerful. "I should get you home," William said softly, though he made no move to stand. "In a minute," Amelia replied, leaning against his shoulder as they gazed out at the harbor. For now, this moment of peace, of safety and connection, was exactly what she needed. What neither of them noticed was a figure watching from a darkened car across the street, his fingers gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles had turned white. His eyes narrowed with jealous rage as he observed their intimate moment. Monday morning brought reality crashing back as Amelia arrived at the Children's Rehabilitation Center where she worked. The pediatric wing buzzed with activity therapists setting up equipment, nurses checking schedules, and the occasional squeal of a child already in an early session. "Morning, sunshine," called Margot, the receptionist, as Amelia signed in. "How was the wedding?" "Beautiful," Amelia replied with a smile. Sarah was radiant. "And I hear you met someone interesting," Margot wiggled her eyebrows suggestively. "Tara texted me all about some handsome businessman who came to your rescue." Amelia felt her cheeks warm. News travels fast. "Honey, you've been dealing with that creep Daniel for months. We're all invested in your happy ending." Margot handed her a file. "By the way, your 9 o'clock canceled, so you have a break until little Zoe at 10. "Thanks, Margot." Amelia headed toward her office, greeting colleagues along the way. Once inside her small but cheerfully decorated office, Amelia checked her phone. A text from William had arrived an hour ago. "Good morning. Hope you slept well. Security reports all clear overnight. Would Wednesday evening work for dinner?" Amelia smiled, typing back. "Wednesday sounds perfect. I'm at work now, busy day ahead with the little ones." His response came quickly. "They're fortunate to have you. I'll call this evening." The simple exchange left Amelia feeling lighter as she reviewed her patient files for the day. 6 sessions scheduled, including 2 evaluations for new patients. She was organizing her notes when her desk phone rang. "Physical therapy, Amelia Wilson speaking." Silence greeted her, then shallow breathing. "Hello," Amelia prompted, a familiar unease settling in her stomach. "You look beautiful today." Daniel's voice, low and menacing. "Blue scrubs bring out your eyes." Amelia froze, her gaze darting to her office window overlooking the parking lot. The blinds were partially open had he been watching her. "Daniel, you need to stop calling me. The restraining order doesn't apply to phone calls from public numbers," he cut in. "Smart, right? I'm not on hospital property, just admiring from afar, not breaking any rules." Amelia's hand trembled as she reached to close the blinds. "This has to stop. We're over, Daniel. Have been for months. We'll never be over," he hissed. "And who was that guy at the wedding?" "The one who had me thrown out. And then dinner last night, holding hands in the park. Moving on awfully quick, Amelia." Ice shot through her veins. He'd been following her, had seen her with William. "That's none of your business," she managed to say, her voice steadier than she felt. "Please leave me alone. He won't want you when he realizes how damaged you are," Daniel continued as if she hadn't spoken. "How needy and emotional. I'm the only one who truly understands you, Amelia. The only one who—" Amelia hung up, her heart pounding. Immediately, she dialed hospital security, reporting that Daniel might be on the property. Then, hands still shaking, she texted William. "Daniel called my work. He's been watching me, saw us together last night." William's response was immediate. "Stay where you are. Security team on the way." "Calling you now." Her phone rang seconds later. "Are you safe?" William asked without preamble, his voice tight with concern. "I think so," Amelia replied, trying to keep her voice down. "I'm in my office, door closed. Hospital security is checking the property." "My team will be there in 10 minutes, William said. "I've instructed them to coordinate with hospital security." "Where is your office located?" Amelia gave him the details, drawing comfort from his calm efficiency. "I'm leaving a meeting now," William continued. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. "William, you don't have to." "I do," he interrupted firmly. "This escalation is concerning. He's clearly been following you." The reality of the situation washed over Amelia. Daniel had been watching her closely enough to know she went to dinner with William to see them at the park afterward. He knew what she was wearing today. The violation felt like a physical blow. "Stay on the line with me until security arrives," William instructed gently. Amelia nodded, then realized he couldn't see her. "Okay. Tell me about your patients today," William suggested, clearly trying to distract her. "Anyone interesting?" Grateful for the diversion, Amelia began describing Zoe, a 4-year-old with spina bifida who was making remarkable progress with her mobility. She was mid-sentence when a knock at her door made her jump. "Miss Wilson, hospital security. We've got 2 gentlemen here from Kingston Security." Relief flooded through her. "They're here," she told William. "Good, I'll see you soon." The next 20 minutes passed in a blur of activity. Hospital security had found no sign of Daniel on the property, but they increased patrols and alerted all entrance staff. The Kingston security team, 2 serious men named Reynolds and Diaz, positioned themselves discreetly near her office and the therapy rooms where she would be working. When William arrived, his commanding presence drew curious glances from staff and patients alike. He wore a steel gray suit that emphasized his broad shoulders, his expression intense as he spotted Amelia speaking with the security teams. "Any sign of him?" he asked, approaching the group. Reynolds shook his head. "No, sir. We've reviewed security footage from the past hour. No match for his description or vehicle." William nodded, then turned his full attention to Amelia. "Are you all right?" "Better now," she admitted. "But I have patients scheduled all day. I can't just leave." "We're not suggesting you do," William assured her. "The team will maintain a presence while you work. I've also spoken with local police about the restraining order violation at the wedding." Amelia blinked in surprise. "You have?" "I have connections with the police commissioner," William explained without elaboration. "They're taking the situation more seriously now." Margot appeared in the doorway, looking apologetic. "Sorry to interrupt, but Zoe's here early and asking for you, Amelia." "I'll be right there." Amelia turned back to William. "I need to go," he said with an understanding nod. "Do your work. The security team will be nearby." Impulsively, Amelia squeezed his hand. "Thank you." Something softened in William's expression. "I'll pick you up when you finish today. Text me your schedule." As Amelia headed toward the therapy room where Zoe waited, she was struck by how quickly William had mobilized resources to protect her, and how naturally he'd stepped into a supportive role without taking over or diminishing her agency. It was a stark contrast to Daniel's controlling behavior. Throughout her sessions that day, Amelia maintained her professional focus, helping children stretch reluctant muscles and celebrating small victories. But part of her awareness remained on the security personnel stationed discreetly nearby, and the businessman who had unexpectedly become her protector. When her final session ended at 5:30, Amelia found William waiting in the reception area, typing on his phone. He looked up immediately when she approached. "Productive day?" he asked, pocketing his device. "Very," Amelia replied, signing out at Margot's desk. Zoe took 3 steps with her new braces, and Ryan finally managed a full rotation on the therapy bike. William's smile was genuine. "Significant accomplishments." "They are to them," Amelia agreed, touched that he understood the importance of these small milestones. "Thank you for the security today. It made a huge difference knowing they were here." "It's continuing," William informed her as they walked toward the exit flanked by Reynolds. "I've arranged for protection at your apartment as well." Amelia stopped walking. "William, that's too much. You can't assign security to watch me indefinitely." William's expression grew serious. "It's not indefinite. Just until we resolve the situation with your ex." "We?" Amelia questioned. "If you'll allow me to help," William clarified. "I have resources that can expedite resolution." They reached his waiting car, the driver opening the door as they approached. Once inside the privacy of the vehicle, Amelia turned to face William fully. "Why are you doing all this?" she asked directly. "We barely know each other." William considered her question carefully before answering. "When I saw you at the wedding, how you handled yourself despite being afraid, I admired your strength. Then, as we talked, I found myself drawn to you in ways I haven't experienced before." He paused. "I'm not a man who believes in fate or instant connections, Amelia. I deal in facts and calculated decisions. But with you, I want to make an exception." The honesty of his answer moved her deeply. "I feel it too," she admitted quietly, "but I'm concerned you'll regret getting involved in my complicated situation." "I don't make decisions I regret," William stated with quiet confidence. "And I consider your safety worth any complications." As they drove toward her apartment, Amelia realized that in just 2 days, William Kingston had somehow become a central figure in her life, not just as protection against Daniel, but as someone she was increasingly drawn to on a personal level. "Will you come up?" she asked as they approached her building. "I could make dinner. Nothing fancy, but I'd like that," William interrupted with a rare smile. What began as a simple meal, pasta with a homemade sauce Amelia had prepared over the weekend, evolved into hours of conversation. Seated at her small kitchen table, they discussed everything from childhood memories to future aspirations, discovering unexpected commonalities despite their different backgrounds. "I never would have guessed the CEO of Kingston Enterprises grew up working summers at his grandfather's hardware store," Amelia remarked, refilling their wine glasses. William's expression softened with memory. "Grandpa believed every man should know how to fix things. Said it built character and independence." "Is that where your interest in logistics began? Organizing inventory?" William nodded, impressed by her insight. "Exactly. I was fascinated by supply chains even then, how products moved from manufacturers to warehouses to store shelves. I'd reorganize Grandpa's storage room for efficiency." "As a child," Amelia laughed, "while other kids played video games, I played those too," William admitted with a smile. "But yes, I found patterns and systems inherently satisfying." As evening deepened into night, they moved to Amelia's small living room, the conversation flowing naturally between serious topics and lighter moments. When William finally checked his watch, both were surprised to discover it was nearly midnight. "I should go," he said reluctantly. "You have work tomorrow." Amelia nodded, equally reluctant to end the evening. This was nice, normal. "I've missed normal." William understood her meaning immediately. "Daniel's interference has disrupted your life substantially." "It has," Amelia acknowledged. Simple things like going for a run or meeting friends for dinner became complicated threat assessments. William's expression hardened momentarily. "That ends now, I promise." The conviction in his voice was both comforting and slightly alarming. "What exactly are you planning?" "Nothing illegal," William assured her with a hint of amusement. "Just leveraging resources to ensure your safety and his compliance with the restraining order." As they reached her door, William hesitated. "Security will maintain a presence overnight. If anything concerns you, anything at all, call me directly, any hour." "I will," Amelia promised. Then, rising on tiptoes, she kissed him softly. "Thank you for tonight, for everything." William's response was to pull her closer, deepening the kiss with an intensity that left them both breathless when they finally separated. "Wednesday," he reminded her, reluctance evident as he stepped back. "Dinner." "Wednesday," Amelia confirmed, watching as he walked toward the elevator where Reynolds waited discreetly, closing her door. Amelia leaned against it, trying to process the whirlwind developments of the past 3 days. From frightened bridesmaid to being protected by one of the city's most powerful men, a man who, despite his wealth and influence, had spent the evening eating simple pasta at her kitchen table and sharing personal stories. For the first time in months, Amelia fell asleep without checking her locks multiple times, without the gnawing anxiety that had become her constant companion since Daniel's harassment began. Whatever happened next, she wasn't facing it alone anymore. The next morning, Amelia woke to her phone chiming with a news alert. Still groggy, she reached for it, expecting the usual headlines about politics or local events. Instead, she found herself staring at a business news article. Kingston Enterprises CEO William Kingston spotted with mystery woman. Has the city's most eligible bachelor finally found love? Below was a grainy photo clearly taken outside her apartment building the previous evening, showing William with his hand at the small of her back as they entered. The article speculated about her identity and what this might mean for the notoriously private businessman. "Great," Amelia muttered, scrolling through the brief piece that contained more questions than information. This was exactly the kind of attention she'd hoped to avoid, not just for privacy reasons, but because Daniel's jealousy would inevitably be inflamed by such coverage. Her phone rang moments later, William's name appearing on the screen. "You've seen it?" he asked when she answered. "Just now," Amelia confirmed, sitting up in bed. "I'm sorry if this causes problems for you." "For me?" William sounded genuinely confused. "I'm concerned about you. This exposure could aggravate your ex's behavior." His immediate focus on her safety rather than any potential business implications touched Amelia deeply. "I'm worried about that too," she admitted. "Security remains in place," William assured her. "And I've had my PR team contact the publication about removing the article. It's invasive and potentially endangers your safety." Amelia hadn't even considered that possibility. "Can they do that?" "They can try," William replied. "At minimum, they can ensure your name stays out of follow-up coverage." As they discussed the implications, Amelia began her morning routine, preparing for another full day of therapy sessions. William sounded distracted occasionally, clearly managing other calls and messages simultaneously. "I apologize for the multitasking," he said finally. "Quarterly board meeting this morning." "Don't apologize," Amelia replied, genuinely appreciative of his attention despite his busy schedule. "You're running a global company. I'm amazed you found time to call at all." "You're a priority," William stated simply, as if this were an established fact rather than a remarkable declaration from someone she'd known less than a week. After they disconnected, Amelia stood for a long moment in her kitchen, coffee growing cold as she processed his words. "You're a priority." From a man whose priorities typically involved multi-million-dollar decisions affecting thousands of employees worldwide. The day passed in a blur of therapy sessions, paperwork, and colleague consultations. True to William's word, security remained a subtle presence with either Reynolds or Diaz always nearby but never intrusive. By mid-afternoon, Amelia had almost forgotten they were there until her office phone rang again. This time, she checked the caller ID before answering. Unknown number. Taking a deep breath, Amelia lifted the receiver. "Physical therapy, Amelia Wilson speaking." "I saw the news." Daniel's voice was tight with barely controlled rage. "Dating a billionaire now, moving up in the world, aren't you?" Amelia's hand tightened around the phone. "Daniel, stop calling me." "It's harassment." "It's not harassment to be concerned," he countered, his tone shifting to one of forced reasonableness. "You don't know what you're getting into, Amelia. Men like Kingston see women as acquisitions, not people. He'll use you and discard you." "Like you tried to control and isolate me," Amelia shot back, anger momentarily overriding fear. "This needs to stop. Now." "He won't protect you forever," Daniel continued as if she hadn't spoken. "When he loses interest and you'll realize I'm the only one who truly cares about you." "The only one who," Amelia hung up, hands shaking as she immediately dialed Reynolds' number. "He called again," she reported when the security officer answered. "He's seen the news article." Reynolds' response was immediate and professional. "I'll notify Mr. Kingston and increase surveillance." "Do you need me to come to your office?" "No," Amelia decided after a moment. "I have a patient arriving soon, but could you check if he's anywhere near the building?" "Already initiating a perimeter sweep," Reynolds confirmed. "Stay where you are for now, please." Minutes later, William called. "Reynolds briefed me. Are you all right?" "Yes," Amelia assured him, though her heart still raced. "Just rattled. Daniel mentioned the article specifically." "I'm having the security team review all hospital surveillance," William informed her. "And I've arranged for a police patrol to increase frequency near your building and the hospital." Amelia sighed, leaning back in her chair. "This is exhausting. I hate that he still has this power to disrupt my life and now yours too." "He doesn't have power over either of us," William stated firmly. "He's a problem we're addressing methodically." His confidence was reassuring, but Amelia couldn't help worrying. "The article called you the city's most eligible bachelor. Daniel always had jealousy issues." "This is like waving a red flag." "Which is precisely why we're taking additional precautions," William replied. "I've also arranged something else that might help, but I'd prefer to discuss it in person. Are we still on for tomorrow evening?" "Definitely," Amelia confirmed. "I could use something positive to look forward to." After they disconnected, Amelia forced herself to focus on her remaining patients, channeling her energy into helping children overcome their physical challenges rather than dwelling on her own problems. By day's end, she felt more centered, her perspective restored by the simple joy of watching a 6-year-old master a new mobility skill after weeks of effort. The evening passed quietly, with Amelia choosing to work on patient reports at home rather than risk going out. Reynolds remained stationed outside her apartment building, a reassuring presence that allowed her to sleep soundly despite the day's disturbances. Wednesday brought unseasonably warm weather and a text from William confirming dinner at 8, this time at his penthouse rather than a restaurant, to avoid further public exposure. Amelia agreed, both for privacy and because she was curious to see William's personal space. Her workday progressed without incident, though she noticed increased security presence both inside and outside the hospital. By the time she left at 6, Amelia felt the familiar tension headache forming at her temples, the result of constant vigilance and stress. As promised, William's driver collected her from work, bringing her to one of downtown's most exclusive residential buildings. The doorman greeted her by name, escorting her to a private elevator that opened directly into William's penthouse. Amelia stepped into a space that somehow managed to be both impressive and understated. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased panoramic city views, while the interior featured clean lines and sophisticated furnishings in neutral tones. Original artwork adorned the walls, not ostentatious pieces, but thoughtfully selected works that complemented the space. "Welcome," William greeted her, emerging from what appeared to be a home office. He'd removed his suit jacket and tie, looking more relaxed than she'd seen him previously. "Your home is beautiful," Amelia commented, accepting the glass of wine he offered. "Though I'm not sure what I expected." "Something more extravagant?" William asked with slight amusement. Amelia shrugged, smiling. "Maybe. The billionaire stereotype suggests gold fixtures and excessive opulence." I prefer functionality and quality over display, William explained, leading her toward the living area where the city lights twinkled beyond the windows. This space serves my needs efficiently. That sounds exactly like you, Amelia observed, settling onto the comfortable sofa. Efficient even in your personal choices. William sat beside her, their knees nearly touching. Is that a criticism, an observation? Amelia clarified, though I'm starting to see the man beneath the efficiency. Something in William's expression shifted, softened at her words. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear with unexpected tenderness. I've arranged something regarding Daniel, he said after a moment. With your permission. Amelia set down her wine glass. What kind of arrangement? His employer, Vertex Pharmaceuticals, is a major client of Kingston Logistics, William explained. I spoke with their CEO this afternoon about Daniel's behavior. Amelia's eyes widened. You told his boss he's been stalking me. I informed him that one of his managers has been violating a restraining order and harassing a healthcare professional, William clarified. Given the pharmaceutical industry's reliance on good relationships with medical providers, they took the matter extremely seriously. And Amelia prompted, unsure whether to be concerned or relieved by this intervention. Daniel has been placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation, William explained. Additionally, he's been explicitly warned that any further contact with you will result in immediate termination and potential legal action from the company itself, which has a zero-tolerance policy for this type of behavior. Amelia absorbed this information slowly. You leveraged a business relationship to protect me. I did, William acknowledged without apology. Was that overstepping? The question was genuine. Amelia could see he was truly concerned about respecting her boundaries despite his powerful position. I'm not sure, she admitted honestly. Part of me is immensely relieved. Another part worries this might make him more desperate, more angry. William nodded, understanding her concern. Which is why security remains in place, but this approach addresses the problem at its source, Daniel's sense of impunity. Now there are concrete professional consequences for his actions. Before Amelia could respond, William's private chef appeared, announcing dinner was ready. The timing spared Amelia from having to immediately process her mixed feelings about William's intervention. Dinner was served in a glass-enclosed terrace area overlooking the city, a magnificent spread of perfectly prepared dishes that reminded Amelia that despite his unassuming manner, William lived in a world far different from her own. As they ate, the conversation shifted to lighter topics: William's recent business trip to Singapore, Amelia's progress with a particularly challenging young patient, shared opinions on a book they'd both coincidentally read. It felt remarkably normal despite the extraordinary setting. After dinner, they returned to the living area with coffee. Amelia found herself drawn to a photograph on a side table, the only personal item she'd noticed in the otherwise pristine space. It showed a younger William with an older man in front of what appeared to be a small hardware store. Your grandfather, she guessed, picking up the frame. William nodded, joining her. Taken the summer before he passed. I was 19. You look happy, Amelia observed, noting the relaxed smile so rarely seen on the adult William's face. I was, he confirmed. Grandpa was the one person who never had expectations for me beyond being myself. You miss him, Amelia said softly, recognizing the subtle grief in his voice. Every day, William admitted, taking the photo and returning it carefully to its place. He would have liked you. The simple statement held surprising weight. Why do you think that? William considered her question seriously. You're genuine. He had no patience for pretense or social climbing. He judged people by their character, not their position. "And you?" Amelia asked, genuinely curious. "Do you judge people the same way?" "I try," William replied. "Though in business, it's complicated by necessary skepticism. People often present what they think you want to see rather than their authentic selves." "Is that why you're so guarded?" Amelia asked, the question slipping out before she could reconsider. Rather than being offended, William seemed to appreciate her directness. "Partly," he acknowledged. "Success creates distance. People either want something from you or are intimidated by you. Few approach with genuine intention." "And you think I do?" Amelia challenged gently. William's gaze held her steadily. "I know you do. Your reaction when you discovered who I was confirmed it. You were concerned rather than impressed." Amelia smiled at the memory. "I was worried your involvement might complicate things." "Has it?" William asked quietly. The question hung between them, loaded with unspoken implications. Had William's presence in her life made things better or worse? Had his protection been worth the additional complications? "Yes," Amelia answered honestly, "but in ways that matter. Good complications, if that makes sense." William moved closer, one hand coming up to trace the curve of her cheek. "It makes perfect sense." When he kissed her this time, it was different from their previous encounters, deeper, more certain, with an intensity that spoke of genuine connection rather than mere attraction. Amelia responded equally, her hands moving to his shoulders, then his chest, feeling the solid strength beneath expensive fabric. William pulled back slightly, his expression uncharacteristically vulnerable. "Stay tonight." The invitation was clear but undemanding. He was offering, not assuming. "Yes," Amelia whispered, making the decision that would ultimately transform both their lives. What followed was a night of discovery, of William's surprising tenderness contrasted with commanding confidence, of shared vulnerability as barriers fell away between them. For Amelia, it was a revelation to be with someone who sought her pleasure as devotedly as his own. For William, the experience was unprecedented intimacy without calculation or reservation. Afterward, lying together in his expansive bed, city lights creating patterns across the ceiling, Amelia realized something profound had shifted. What had begun as a chance encounter at a wedding had evolved into something neither of them had anticipated, something with the potential to change everything. "What are you thinking?" William asked softly, his fingers tracing idle patterns along her bare shoulder. Amelia turned to face him, struck by how different he looked in this moment. Relaxed, his usual intensity softened into something more approachable, more human. "That I never expected this," she admitted. "Any of it." William's lips curved slightly. "Neither did I. I don't typically deviate from plans." "Am I a deviation?" Amelia asked, half teasing. William considered her question with characteristic seriousness. "You're a revelation," he finally replied, the simple honesty of his answer taking her breath away. They fell asleep entwined, the city humming beyond the windows, security teams vigilant below, a bubble of connection in a world of complications. Amelia woke to sunlight streaming through windows she didn't immediately recognize. Momentary disorientation gave way to memory as she registered William's arm around her waist, his steady breathing against her neck. Carefully turning to face him, she studied his sleeping features, the strong jawline relaxed, dark lashes against his cheeks, stubble shadowing his chin. In sleep, the powerful CEO looked almost vulnerable, entirely human. As if sensing her scrutiny, William's eyes opened, instantly alert despite having just awakened. His gaze softened as it focused on her. "Good morning," he murmured, voice rough with sleep. "Morning," Amelia replied, suddenly self-conscious. "What time is it? William glanced at the sleek clock on his nightstand. 6:15. Do you need to leave for work? Not for a couple of hours, Amelia said, relaxing slightly. William nodded, pulling her closer. Good. What followed was an unhurried exploration that left them both breathless and more deeply connected than the night before. Afterward, they shared a shower in William's ridiculously luxurious bathroom before his chef prepared breakfast. I could get used to this, Amelia joked as she sipped fresh squeezed orange juice at the breakfast bar, wearing one of William's dress shirts over her underwear, her work clothes laid out for after breakfast. William, already in tailored pants and a crisp white shirt, looked up from his tablet with an expression she couldn't quite decipher. I hope you do, he said simply. The implications of that statement lingered as William's driver took Amelia home to change before work. This was moving quickly, perhaps too quickly under normal circumstances. But their situation had never been normal from that first moment at the wedding. At work, Amelia found herself distracted by memories of the previous night, by the growing certainty that William Kingston was becoming essential to her happiness in ways she hadn't anticipated. Her colleagues noticed her improved mood, attributing it to reduced stress about Daniel rather than a budding relationship. When her phone vibrated mid-afternoon, Amelia expected to see William's name. Instead, she found a text from an unknown number. You think he can protect you? No one can keep you from me forever. What's his is mine. Amelia's blood ran cold. The message could only be from Daniel, likely from a new number since she'd blocked his others. The threatening tone marked an escalation from his previous communications. With shaking fingers, she forwarded the message to Reynolds and then to William. Reynolds called immediately. Miss Wilson, please remain in your office. I'm coming to you now. Minutes later, the security officer arrived, joined by William on speakerphone. I've notified local police, William informed them, his voice tightly controlled. They're sending a patrol to the hospital and will take a formal report. This is a clear violation of the restraining order. The number is untraceable, Reynolds added, examining the message. Likely a temporary or burner phone. Amelia sat heavily in her office chair. He's escalating. Which means he's becoming desperate, William pointed out. The company pressure is working. He's lashing out. That's supposed to be comforting. Amelia asked, unable to keep the edge from her voice. It's informative, William replied calmly. It means our approach is effective, but we need to increase security accordingly. They discussed options, ultimately deciding that Amelia would stay at William's penthouse, temporarily, its secure building and private elevator making it virtually impenetrable compared to her apartment with its multiple access points. I'll have Diaz accompany you to your apartment to pack necessities after work, William concluded. Reynolds will remain with you until then. The practicality of the arrangement made sense, but Amelia couldn't help feeling that Daniel was still controlling her life through fear dictating where she could safely stay, requiring security escorts, disrupting her independence. I hate this, she admitted after Reynolds stepped outside to take a call. I hate that he still has this power. It's temporary, William assured her. Each escalation brings more documentation, more legal consequences. We're building a case that will end this permanently. His confidence provided some comfort, but the rest of Amelia's workday was overshadowed by anxiety. Every unexpected noise made her jump, every stranger in the hallway a potential threat. True to the plan, Diaz escorted her to her apartment after work. While Amelia packed enough clothes for several days, the security officer conducted a thorough check of the premises, confirming no signs of intrusion or tampering. The drive to William's building passed in tense silence. Amelia watching for any vehicles that might be following them. Once inside the secure garage, Diaz escorted her to the private elevator, remaining vigilant until the doors closed. William was waiting when the elevator opened into his penthouse, his expression a mixture of concern and controlled anger. Without hesitation, he pulled Amelia into a tight embrace. "Are you all right?" he asked against her hair. Amelia nodded, allowing herself to draw strength from his solid presence. "Better now." Over dinner, William outlined additional security measures being implemented: enhanced surveillance of Daniel's known locations, coordination with local police, legal preparations for a more comprehensive restraining order. "My attorney believes we have grounds for criminal charges based on the pattern of harassment," William explained. "The text today helps build that case." Amelia listened, grateful for his methodical approach, yet increasingly aware of the stark contrast between their worlds. William addressed problems by mobilizing resources, leveraging connections, implementing solutions with confident efficiency. Her previous attempts to handle Daniel's harassment had involved pleading with overworked police officers and navigating a slow-moving legal system with limited personal resources. "You make it all sound so manageable," Amelia observed, setting down her fork. William studied her for a moment. "Does that bother you, that I can help this way?" The question was perceptive, cutting to the heart of Amelia's mixed feelings. "Not exactly," she tried to explain. "It's more that I'm realizing how different our worlds are. You make one call and things happen. Most people don't have that kind of influence." "Is that a problem?" William asked directly, his expression guarded. Amelia considered carefully before answering. "No," she finally decided. "It's just an adjustment. I've been handling everything alone for so long, first my brother's care after our parents died, then my career, then Daniel's harassment. Having someone step in with solutions is unfamiliar." William's expression softened with understanding. "You're fiercely independent. I admire that. But accepting help doesn't diminish your strength, Amelia." His insight surprised her. Most people misinterpreted her self-reliance as stubbornness rather than necessity. William seemed to understand it was simply how she'd survived. "I'm trying to remember that," Amelia admitted. "And I am grateful, William. Truly." Later that evening, as they sat together on his terrace overlooking the city lights, William broached a subject that had clearly been on his mind. "I have a business trip to Tokyo next week," he began. 3 days of negotiations with potential Japanese partners. Amelia nodded, unsurprised that his work would require international travel. "When do you leave?" "Monday morning," William replied. "But given the current situation with Daniel, I'm reluctant to go." "You can't cancel an international business trip because of my ex-boyfriend," Amelia protested. "I could," William countered, "but there's an alternative. Come with me." The suggestion caught Amelia completely off guard. "To Tokyo? William, I have patience, responsibilities." "For 3 days," he pointed out. "Surely you could arrange coverage, and it would remove you completely from Daniel's reach while we continue building the legal case against him." Amelia considered the proposal. The practical side made sense. Daniel couldn't follow her to Japan. And the idea of experiencing Tokyo with William was undeniably appealing. "What would I do while you're in meetings?" she asked, beginning to consider the logistics. "Whatever you wish," William replied. "Explore the city, visit landmarks, relax at the hotel spa. Or you could join me for the social portions of the business engagements, dinners, cultural events. No pressure either way." The offer was tempting not just for safety reasons, but because Amelia was increasingly certain that what was developing between them deserved exploration without Daniel's threatening shadow. "I'd need to arrange coverage for my patients," she said thoughtfully, "and get approval for the time off." William nodded, careful not to press. "Consider it. You don't need to decide immediately." But as they moved into his bedroom later that night, Amelia had already made her decision. 3 days in Tokyo with William, away from constant vigilance and fear, sounded like exactly what she needed, both for safety and to understand whether their intense connection could flourish beyond the crisis that had brought them together. The next morning, Amelia contacted her supervisor, explaining she needed a few personal days to address her ongoing stalking situation. Given the circumstances and her excellent work record, approval came quickly, with colleagues volunteering to cover her patients. "I'll come to Tokyo," she told William that evening. 3 days away from this situation might be exactly what I need." The smile that lit William's features confirmed she'd made the right choice. For the first time since Daniel's harassment began, Amelia felt a genuine sense of anticipation rather than dread about the days ahead. The weekend passed in a blur of preparation. William's assistant arranged for Amelia's passport details to be added to his private flight clearance, and coordinated with the Tokyo hotel for her accommodations. Meanwhile, security remained vigilant around both William's building and the hospital, though Daniel made no further contact after his threatening text. Monday morning found Amelia boarding William's private jet, an experience so far removed from her normal life that it felt almost surreal. The aircraft's luxurious interior featured comfortable seating, a small conference area, and amenities she'd only seen in magazines. "Is this how you always travel?" Amelia asked as a flight attendant offered them pre-takeoff drinks. William nodded, reviewing documents from a slim briefcase. "International commercial flights are inefficient when multiple destinations are involved. This allows me to conduct business while traveling." Amelia smiled at his practical justification for what was clearly an extraordinary luxury. "Of course, efficiency." William glanced up, catching her amusement. "And yes, it's comfortable," he conceded with a rare hint of playfulness. "I won't pretend otherwise." The 14-hour flight passed more quickly than Amelia expected, with William alternating between work and attentive conversation. They discussed everything from favorite books to family histories, deepening their understanding of each other's backgrounds and values. Amelia learned that, despite his current wealth, William had grown up in modest circumstances, his father a manager at a shipping company, his mother a school administrator. His path to success had involved scholarships, strategic decisions, and a willingness to take calculated risks others avoided. "I acquired my first company at 27, William explained, a small logistics firm facing bankruptcy. Everyone thought I was overreaching, but I saw untapped potential in their Asian shipping routes." "And now you own one of the largest shipping and logistics conglomerates in the world," Amelia observed. "That's remarkable." William shrugged slightly. It was the right series of decisions at the right times. His humility about his achievements was refreshingly genuine. Unlike Daniel, who had constantly sought validation and recognition for even minor accomplishments, William seemed to view his success as the natural outcome of good decisions rather than a reflection of personal superiority. When they landed in Tokyo, a car was waiting to take them directly to their hotel, a stunning property in the city center, where they were escorted to a palatial suite overlooking the urban skyline and distant Mount Fuji. "This is breathtaking," Amelia said, standing at the window as sunset painted the sky in vivid oranges and pinks. William joined her, his hand finding the small of her back. "Wait until you see it at night. Tokyo's lights are spectacular." Their first evening in Japan was quiet, a private dinner in their suite, as William briefed Amelia on his schedule for the next day. His first meeting would begin early, but they planned to reconnect for lunch if possible, followed by separate afternoons before a business dinner Amelia would attend with him. Japanese business culture is quite formal, William explained. But having a partner at social functions is expected and appreciated. It demonstrates stability and commitment. The casual way he referred to her as his partner didn't escape Amelia's notice. Though their relationship had developed at extraordinary speed, it had already taken on a seriousness neither had anticipated. The next morning, Amelia woke to find William already dressed in an impeccable suit, reviewing documents at the suite's desk while sunrise illuminated the city below. "There's coffee," he noted without looking up, "and I've arranged for a guide to meet you at 10 if you'd like to explore the city." Amelia smiled at his thoughtfulness. "That would be wonderful, but first, come here." William set down his papers, approaching the bed where Amelia sat wrapped in the luxurious hotel robe. When he was within reach, she took his hand, pulling him down for a lingering kiss. "For luck with your negotiations," she explained when they separated. William's expression softened. "In that case, perhaps one more." By the time William departed for his meeting, both were slightly disheveled and considerably happier. Amelia spent the morning with Akiko, a knowledgeable local guide who showed her Tokyo's highlights from ancient temples to ultra-modern shopping districts. When they reconnected for lunch at a traditional restaurant near William's meeting location, Amelia was bubbling with observations about Japanese culture and architecture. "You're enjoying yourself," William noted, looking more relaxed than she'd expected mid-negotiations. "Immensely," Amelia confirmed. "It's incredible to experience a culture so different from ours, and being away from everything has been refreshing." William nodded, understanding she meant the constant vigilance and fear that had defined her recent months. "Any word from Reynolds about the situation back home?" "All quiet," Amelia reported. "Daniel seems to have gone to ground since that text. Reynolds thinks the company pressure is working." "Good," William said, though his expression remained cautious. "We'll maintain security regardless." Their lunch concluded with William reluctantly returning to negotiations, while Amelia continued exploring with Akiko. By evening, when Amelia dressed for the business dinner in an elegant black dress William had thoughtfully had delivered to their suite, she felt more relaxed than she had in months. The business dinner proved fascinating, a cultural experience as much as a professional engagement. William introduced Amelia to his Japanese counterparts and their spouses with confident ease, never explicitly defining their relationship, but clearly indicating its significance through his attentive manner. Amelia observed with interest as William navigated the complex social dynamics of international business, showing appropriate deference to the Japanese executive's cultural expectations, while subtly establishing his own position of strength. His fluency in business Japanese clearly impressed their hosts, though he modestly downplayed it when Amelia commented later. "Necessary skill for this market," he explained as they returned to their suite late that evening. "Nothing special." "It was impressive," Amelia insisted. "The whole evening was. Watching you work is fascinating, William. You're different in that environment, commanding but diplomatic." William loosened his tie, considering her observation. "Different from how?" Amelia thought for a moment. "With me, you're more unguarded, less strategic." A smile touched his lips. "Is that good or bad?" "Good," Amelia decided, moving closer to help him remove his tie completely. "Very good." Their second day in Tokyo followed a similar pattern, William in meetings while Amelia explored, reconnecting for lunch, and concluding with another business dinner. By their final day, negotiations were progressing well enough that William could join Amelia for an afternoon visit to a famous garden before their last evening in Japan. Walking among the meticulously arranged landscapes, William appeared more relaxed than Amelia had ever seen him, his usual intensity softened by the tranquil surroundings. "This trip has been good for both of us," Amelia observed as they paused beside a small ornamental lake. "I've felt almost normal these past few days." William's hand found hers, fingers intertwining naturally. "I've enjoyed showing you this part of my world, and I've enjoyed seeing it," Amelia replied honestly. "Though it's still surreal, sometimes private jets, luxury hotels, business dinners with international executives." "Does it concern you?" William asked directly. "The differences in our lives?" Amelia considered the question carefully. "Sometimes," she admitted. "Not because I care about money or status, but because I wonder if I fit into your world long term." William turned to face her fully, his expression serious. "My world adjusts to what matters to me, Amelia, not the other way around." The simple declaration held profound meaning. William Kingston, who controlled vast business interests through strategic planning and careful management, was effectively saying she had become essential to his life's trajectory. "These past few days," William continued, "watching you experience Tokyo, having you beside me at these business functions, it's clarified something for me." "What's that?" Amelia asked, heart quickening at the intensity in his gaze. "That I don't want to return to life without you in it," William stated simply. "What began as a chance meeting at a wedding has become the most significant relationship I've had. I'm not a man who believes in fate, Amelia, but meeting you, it's changed everything." The declaration, delivered with William's characteristic directness but unusual vulnerability, left Amelia momentarily speechless. They'd known each other barely 2 weeks, yet the connection between them had developed with extraordinary intensity. "I feel it too," she finally admitted. "It's fast and unexpected and probably seems crazy to anyone looking from outside, but it's real," William finished for her, his hands coming up to frame her face. "And I don't need more time to know what I want." As they kissed in that tranquil Japanese garden, thousands of miles from where they'd met, Amelia realized they'd crossed a threshold from a relationship born of crisis and attraction to something with profound potential for their futures. Their final evening in Tokyo was spent at an intimate restaurant recommended by William's Japanese associates, a perfect conclusion to their abbreviated but meaningful trip. As they prepared to return home the following day, both felt the subtle shift in their relationship, a deepened understanding and commitment that required no formal declaration. The flight back was more subdued than their outbound journey, with William focused on finalizing details from the negotiations while Amelia read and occasionally gazed out the window, processing the whirlwind developments of the past 2 weeks. When they landed, reality intruded immediately in the form of Reynolds meeting them at the private terminal, his expression serious. "Mr. Kingston, Miss Wilson," he greeted them formally. "There's been a development with Mr. Bennett." William's posture stiffened. "What happened?" "He attempted to access your building yesterday evening," Reynolds reported. "Security intercepted him in the garage. He appeared intoxicated and became belligerent when confronted." Amelia's stomach clenched. "Was anyone hurt?" "No, madam." Police were called, and he was arrested for trespassing and violating the restraining order. He's currently in custody awaiting a bail hearing. The news was both alarming and potentially positive. Daniel had escalated to physical trespassing, but this provided concrete evidence for strengthening the legal case against him. "I've already contacted our attorney," William said, guiding Amelia toward the waiting car with a protective hand at her back. "This incident gives us leverage for more comprehensive legal protection." In the car, Amelia struggled with conflicting emotions: relief that Daniel was currently contained, anxiety about his escalating behavior, and guilt that William's involvement had potentially provoked that escalation. "I'm sorry," she said quietly as they drove toward the city. "Your building, your security team, you've been dragged into my problems." William took her hand firmly. "Stop. This isn't your fault, Amelia. Daniel's behavior is his responsibility alone, and I'm not dragged into anything. I'm exactly where I choose to be." His certainty was comforting, but Amelia couldn't shake her unease. "What happens now?" "Now we use every legal tool available to ensure he cannot continue this behavior," William stated. "The arrest for trespassing combined with the restraining order violation provides grounds for more serious charges. My legal team is already working with the prosecutor." The following days passed in a flurry of legal consultations and security briefings. Daniel was released on bail, but with stricter conditions, including electronic monitoring and explicit prohibitions against approaching either Amelia or any Kingston properties. Amelia returned to work, where colleagues were supportive but curious about her unexpected trip to Tokyo with a high-profile businessman. The story had made local news, with speculation about their relationship appearing in business publications and society columns. "So it's serious with Mr. CEO?" Margot asked one morning, barely containing her curiosity as Amelia signed in. "It's evolving," Amelia replied diplomatically. "Well, whatever it is, you look happier," Margot observed. "And that creep Daniel being arrested is the cherry on top." Amelia couldn't disagree. Despite the ongoing stress of legal proceedings and heightened security, she felt more hopeful than she had in months. William's presence in her life had transformed her experience of the situation from isolated victim to supported partner. 3 weeks after their return from Tokyo, with Daniel's case moving through the legal system and no further incidents, William invited Amelia to dinner at the restaurant where they'd had their first date. The choice felt deliberate, bringing their relationship full circle. "No security tonight?" Amelia asked as they were seated at the same corner table they'd occupied weeks earlier. "Minimal and discreet," William replied. "The threat assessment has decreased significantly with the monitoring and court oversight." Amelia nodded, grateful for the semblance of normalcy. "It feels strange, not constantly looking over my shoulder." "That's how it should be," William said firmly, "and how it will remain." As they enjoyed their meal, Amelia noticed William seemed unusually contemplative, occasionally falling silent mid-conversation. "Is everything all right?" she finally asked. "You seem distracted." William set down his wine glass, meeting her gaze directly. "I've been considering something important, a decision that would affect both our lives significantly." Amelia's heart quickened. "That sounds serious." "It is," William acknowledged. "These past weeks have been extraordinary, Amelia. What began as a chance encounter has become the most meaningful relationship of my life." He reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "I know this may seem fast by conventional standards, but I've never been more certain of anything." With fluid movement, William retrieved a small box from his jacket pocket, opening it to reveal an exquisite diamond ring. "I don't want to waste time with unnecessary waiting when I already know you're the person I want to build a life with. Will you marry me, Amelia?" The proposal, delivered with William's characteristic directness, yet obvious emotion, momentarily left Amelia speechless. They'd known each other just over a month, an incredibly short time by normal standards, yet nothing about their relationship had been normal from the start. looking at William, this powerful, complex man who had entered her life unexpectedly and transformed it completely. Amelia knew her answer with absolute certainty. "Yes," she said simply. "Yes, I will." William's rare full smile appeared as he slipped the ring onto her finger. "I had a whole speech prepared about logical progression and compatibility metrics," he admitted with unexpected humor. "But in the end, it comes down to something much simpler. I love you, Amelia." "I love you too," she replied, the words feeling both new and completely natural. "And I don't need time to know that's true." What followed was a whirlwind of planning and adjustments. They decided on a relatively short engagement, 6 months, with a small, private ceremony rather than an elaborate society wedding. William's position made some public attention inevitable, but both preferred intimacy over spectacle. The legal situation with Daniel resolved more definitively than expected. Faced with criminal charges and the loss of his professional standing, he accepted a plea deal that included mandatory therapy, extended probation, and a permanent restraining order. His company terminated his employment, and he eventually relocated to another state, a development that finally allowed Amelia to fully relax her vigilance. 3 months after William's proposal, they moved into a new home together, a spacious but warm penthouse in a different building, selected jointly to represent their shared future rather than either's past. William surprised Amelia by incorporating elements from her apartment that held sentimental value, demonstrating his understanding of what mattered to her beyond material considerations. Wedding preparations progressed with the efficient thoroughness characteristic of William's approach to important projects. Yet Amelia noticed a softening in his typically rigorous planning, a willingness to adjust for sentiment or personal preference rather than pure practicality. The logical venue would be the Hamilton Hotel ballroom, William observed one evening as they reviewed options. "It has optimal capacity and security features." "But," Amelia prompted, sensing his hesitation. William smiled slightly. "But I think the botanical garden would make you happier." "So that's my preference." These small moments of prioritizing emotional considerations over efficiency reflected William's evolving approach to their relationship, a blending of his strategic mind with growing emotional openness. 6 months after their fateful meeting at Sarah's wedding, Amelia and William exchanged vows in the city's botanical garden, surrounded by blooming cherry trees and their closest friends and family. Sarah served as Amelia's matron of honor, while William's longtime friend and business associate Michael stood as best man. The ceremony was elegant but intimate, with William's vows revealing a depth of emotion that surprised many who knew him only in his professional capacity. "Amelia," he began, his voice steady despite the rare vulnerability in his expression, "before you my life was organized, efficient, and fundamentally incomplete. I built an empire without realizing I was constructing walls rather than foundations. You changed that, not by demanding change, but by showing me what genuine connection means." His words continued, each phrase revealing how profoundly their unexpected meeting had transformed him. When Amelia responded with equally heartfelt vows, there wasn't a dry eye among their guests. The reception that followed was joyful and relaxed, a celebration not just of their union, but of the remarkable journey that had brought them together. From William protecting Amelia from her stalking ex at a wedding to building a life neither had imagined possible just months earlier. As they shared their first dance as husband and wife, William held Amelia close, his lips near her ear. "Happy." Amelia looked up at the man who had unexpectedly become essential to her life, the powerful CEO whose carefully controlled world had been upended by their chance meeting. who had protected her when she needed it most, and then revealed himself to be so much more than his public persona suggested. "Completely," she answered truthfully, "though I never expected one night would change everything." William smiled, the rare unguarded expression that she now knew was reserved almost exclusively for her. "Neither did I, but it's the best deviation from the plan I've ever made." As they continued dancing, surrounded by loved ones and the promise of a future together, both reflected on the extraordinary sequence of events that had led to this moment. A frightened bridesmaid, a protective CEO, and a wedding that had unexpectedly set the stage for their own happiness, proving that sometimes the most carefully planned lives benefit most from the unexpected.